Hi there, I'm Kit Lyle from The Operators. We're going to talk about the fifth value creation lever today, which is add-on acquisitions and integrations, the hard part. But first, let's sort of level set on all these value creation levers. There's six of them. First is alignment, second, operational improvement, third is fact-based decision making and financial analytics and reporting, fourth is organic growth, fifth, therefore, is inorganic growth, or these add-ons. And by the way, sixth is exit planning from day one. All right, so back to add-on acquisition. Some people talk about them as bolt-ons, as if it's sort of like an IKEA piece of furniture and it's super easy to just screw together. But it's really not easy. There are two parts to it: the process of acquiring and the process of integrating. So the process of acquiring typically starts with your deal team. What they're trying to do is solve for at least a couple of different needs. One, it's easy to add on EBITDA by doing acquisitions, assuming you can get the financing. It makes sense. So you're increasing the level of EBITDA, which obviously increases the valuation, right? Because the multiple is essentially EBITDA times a multiple. So the bigger the EBITDA, the bigger the value. That makes sense. Okay. But the second thing they're trying to solve for is thinking ahead to the exit of the platform and the add-ons. What is it that a potential future buyer would expect or want or need that would make them more likely to pay a premium? So maybe it's access to a new channel or a new market or a new product. Maybe it's the ability to solve a problem for your customers in a way that nobody else can through a technology that you gain through acquisition. So you're solving for problems by buying specific companies. Maybe it's access to a geography and you're just sort of growing through geographic growth. All of that is fine and all of that makes sense. It starts with developing a list of criteria of what would make an attractive candidate. From there, you're developing a list of those candidates that make sense. And then you're conducting some form of outreach. You're not expecting that any of them are actively for sale right now. If they are, that's a bonus, but you want to be proactive. So you're basically starting a courtship with potential business sellers, with potential partners for you, companies you acquire, these bolt-ons. So where do you find them? Maybe it's at trade shows. Maybe you're meeting with the same supplier. Maybe you're in the same small town and you can get together in person. The idea is over time to figure out a way to establish chemistry, rapport, synergy, so that when they are ready to sell, they naturally think of you and approach you first. That's the ideal, that's the dream. Now, once the acquisition happens, the hard work begins. Most people don't realize that because you need one person in charge of integration. In a bigger context, it might be the integration management office. In the lower middle market, it may just be one person responsible for all things integration. But they have to be able to think cross-departmentally, technology and processes and operations and finance and reporting and governance and people and so on and so forth. So there's a lot to think about. And sometimes the bolt-on has a better process or a better technology or a better customer relationship experience than the platform company, and you actually have to take things from the platform. Most people take things from the add-on. Most people think of these bolt-ons as, hey, we're just going to grab them, we're going to acquire them, they're going to fit into our business. But in some cases, it's not that simple. It's not that easy. It doesn't make that much sense. And then the last thing to consider is humans do not like change. So when you acquire a company, there's going to be significant change, process, system, technology, people. So you have to be prepared in advance for dealing with the natural conflict, because a system is effective as it is, and the moment you inject change, people are not typically ready for change. They're not experienced with change management. So there has to be a process for people to work through that. Maybe gradual, but you have to think about during the course of the hold period that you have as the platform, how do we ensure that these businesses are integrated before the point that we go on the market to sell? Because during diligence, your potential acquirer is going to look at all these bolt-ons and say, well, they're not really very well integrated. They're sort of still a mess. They have different reporting systems and ERPs and CRMs, and they're not talking to each other very well. That is not something that will increase the value of the business. It will detract from it. So integrations are difficult. They take time, they take forethought, and they take a lot of effort. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but integrations, bolt-ons, are not as easy as assembling IKEA furniture. Hope that makes sense. I'm Kit from The Operators. Thanks for watching.